Hello, everybody. This is the War Eagle Weekly Podcast. I am one of your three hosts, Cameron. I'm joined tonight by Joshua and Brandon. How are we doing tonight, guys?
Doing okay.
So good.
Doing okay.
All right, awesome. We have a lot to go over tonight. We're going to start off with some football stuff. I know there's not a lot going on, but over the last week, we got our spring training dates announced. We got spring practices starting on the 27th of this month. Up to the 29th, and then starting on the 12th of March, going 3 days a week until the end of the month, and the couple days in April with the A Day game starting on the 6th of April. Um, Super excited to talk about all this spring football. It's just one step closer to getting to actual in season play. But through the spring, what positions do you guys think that we need to really keep an eye on and have a close watch on? Josh, what do you think?
Oh, I easily think it's going to be the quarterbacks and wide receivers. I think the quarterback competition is going to be a very legitimate and competitive competition between Peyton Thorne, Holden Garner, Hank Brown, and Walker White. I just think everybody brings something special to the table, and I just think that's going to be a great competition to keep your eye on, as well as wide receivers. You got two or three guys that have had in-game snaps for Auburn, and
Mm-hmm.
then the rest are just guys that are coming in have no snaps, but every single one of them are so very talented, and it's just going to be super fun to watch those two groups throughout the spring.
Heck yeah. Well, uh, sorry, Brandon. Real quick, Josh, of the wide receivers, who do you think is going to be some of the players that we really need to keep an eye on, or at the very least, some of the ones that we think really need to step up?
I really think everyone needs to keep their eye on Caleb Burton. He's had one full year under Hugh Freeze's offense, and then he's going to have a whole spring under Freeze's offense. I really think he's going to solidify himself as QB1. He's going to be the number one outside receiver, and then after that, it's just the best of the rest, which I think I kind of find it hard to think that Cam Coleman, being such a highly rated high school recruit, coming in and not starting.
Mm-hmm.
So I would say keep a watch on him to be wide receiver two, along with Robert Lewis and Coy Moore, with
Oh,
Jay Fair kind of coming up in the rear, trying to push everybody.
wow.
So yeah, I mean it's going to be a very competitive wide receiver competition to see who gets them starting roles. But there's so many talented guys coming in this freshman class. It's just going to be hard to keep everybody off the field. And
Yeah.
so it's I fully expect us to run some empty set backfield schemes this season a lot more than we saw last year, because there's just so many guys that can either burn the field or jump over 10-foot tall people to catch the ball in tough spots. So I mean, it's just I don't think you're going to be able to keep Caleb Burton or Cam Coleman. So I'm very confident in saying I think those two guys are going to be named starters fairly quick, and then the rest are just it's
Okay.
just so hard to call the backups and the rest.
Yeah. Brandon, what were you wanting to add there?
No, I was just gonna echo essentially what Josh said. There's a lot of like new people, new faces that we're gonna see on the field this year. But I think that the most eyes are gonna be on our quarterbacks. Like Josh said, I think Peyton Thorne has a ton of pressure on him coming into this season. Like I stated a couple weeks ago, I mean, I think that he's gonna be able to step up and be QB1, but I think it's gonna be an uphill battle for him. Um,
Yeah.
so that's more or less what I was gonna say.
Oh, 100%, man. I think I do expect Peyton Thorne to be, the starter. He is the incumbent, but I'm calling it now. Walker White is going to take over the starting reins midseason. I can just see it now because he's such a talented dude. He was like a fraction away from being a 5-star guy. He's a big body. He's got the college build already, and he's just a guy that wants to work.
Yeah. Yeah, there was a lot of hype with him in the All Star games coming out of high school, and he moved up significantly in the high school rankings because of those All Star practices and games. Um, I to echo what Brandon was saying, it's just the quarterback position. It's probably going to be the one that has really the most eyes on it, and you cannot deny that. I me personally though, I think one that is kind of going under the radar, but I think you're hearing, Zach Blackerby talked a little bit about it this week and has every week really. But for me, man, it is the defensive line room and your jack linebackers. I'm going to kind of combine those two positions because, man, it is unbelievable the amount of raw talent we have in those rooms and the fact that we have such little production returning. I actually went and wrote down some stats because it blows my mind, some of the info here. So of our returning production, and I'm also including the guys that transferred in that played, and just to kind of give some information. We got Keldrick Falk, played 13 games, 35 tackles. We got Zacchaeus Walker, 32 games, 41 tackles. Jason Jones, 38 games, 67 tackles. Trill Carter, 46 games, 48 tackles. Gage Keys, 38 games, 26 tackles. Garrison Walker, 7 games, 3 tackles. Darren Reed, he had 1 game last year, and that was the Music City Bowl. Now, he's gotten a lot of love from players, and Zach Blackerby is high on him because of what he's heard from the players. But at the same time, his only game time was in the Music City Bowl. That is almost non-existent, snaps that has played at Auburn. Jason Jones and basically Keldrick Falk are your biggest two contributors. And Jason Jones, are we going to get 2022 Jason Jones or are we going to get 2023 Jason Jones? Because I feel like there was a vast difference between the two. And then don't get me started on Jack linebacker. Do you know how many returning, any returning production we have at that position? Anybody? We have one player, and that's McLeod. Now McLeod has played 43 games and has 124 tackles with 14 and a half sacks. So awesome there. But can we get a full season of him healthy? Hopefully so. And after that, it's just nothing but freshmen. So
It's nothing but unknowns.
I feel like the defensive lineman, it's one that isn't going to have a lot of eyes on because it's not a flashy position, but it is a very important position group. And if we're not getting pressure on the quarterback, or if we're not stopping the run with our linemen, we're going to be in for a really long season.
I agree with you there. That is a very big group to keep an eye on
Yeah,
because, like you said, there's just not a whole lot of returning production coming back.
yeah.
I mean, but that's
So
just the nature of college football, right? It's like, I mean, we just got to have faith in our coaches that they're gonna get them production ready come game day.
yeah,
And I guess, I mean, we're gonna see how that's gonna look like once we start getting into those spring games. But I mean, again, we've brought in all this coaching talent, so I personally, I've got my faith in the coaching talent. I'm excited to see what they can bring to the team. Because at the end of the day, that's really what matters. I mean, all these positions are always going to cycle through, and every 2-3 years we're going to have new people at those positions. So as long as we've got the talent in our coaching staff, I don't think it's going to be an issue.
Oh, 100%. I agree with you there. Like, I have all the faith in the world in these new coaches. I think they're going to have everybody prepared and doing what they need to do. So, I mean, we got the talent.
Like,
There's no question. We have the talent in place. It's just building that talent and
yeah.
producing. And I have full faith in, especially our co-defensive coordinators. They're going to get the job done. They're going to make sure everybody's prepared. I don't think there's going to be that big of a drop off this year.
Well, it's just so dangerous because it's an unknown commodity with our coach at the defensive line, And I think you combine those the inexperience with the inexperience at the coach position, and I just feel like it's a recipe for disaster. Or hopefully I'm wrong, and it becomes the strength of this team because we have good defensive linemen coming up, good freshmen that are here, and we got a good class coming in. But this year is, I'm just really worried about that. So of all the people that we have to really keep an eye on this spring, who are some of the players that you think really need to step up? I know we've talked about a few of them. We've highlighted, Peyton Thorne, some of the quarterbacks, as well as some of the wide receivers and defensive linemen. But who are some other players that really need to step it up if we're going to have a successful spring and catapult us into a successful season? Brandon, who do you think, is primarily the quarterbacks? I know that you've kind of looked at them a little bit this last week. Who are you thinking really needs to step up?
Well, I mean, like I've said in the past, it's definitely like the quarterbacks, but this is just going to be piggybacking on our last topic, talking about defense and the defensive talent. I think if we're wanting to launch into the season with some optimism, with some faith behind our guys' backs, jack that morale up. Our defense needs to show that they're capable during the spring.
Yeah,
I don't think like I don't have my eyes on any particular players per se, but I'm just looking at
just the groups.
I'm just looking I'm just looking at defense, looking at linemen, looking at all that. Because like you just expressed, that's an area where we're missing a lot of experience. So if they show that like they're competent and they know what they're doing come spring practice, then I think that's going to instill some confidence in the team.
Yep.
Well, Josh, who are some players that really stand out to you, that are going to need to really step it up?
Um, I guess there's like one player in particular, but it as a whole, it's the group. I think it's even a bigger hole than the defensive line and linebackers, and that's safety. We
Hmm.
have one guy coming back with quality time. That's Caleb Wooden, the guy that runs like he has mashed potatoes in his shoes. He he has stats. I mean, he can play. We know he can play, so we know we have there. But after him, we have Terrence Love, played 3 games in 2023 and had 6 tackles. Sylvester Smith, 3 games, 4 tackles. C.J. Johnson,
Hey, now,
redshirt freshman.
real quick, Sylvester Smith is getting a lot of hype though, and
Oh, trust me, I know. I expect a lot about him.
the way that he played in that bowl game, he made great adjustments. And really, after that first quarter, those safeties, they really did a good job of playing their position the proper and right way. So, we got some inexperience back there, but those guys, they're primed with talent and proven talent
Oh yeah,
because we've seen them in game time, albeit limited.
Also, Sylvester
yeah, I
Smith
agree.
is
We have.
also I was just gonna say Sylvester Smith is coming off of a red shirt, so I mean
Yeah,
I think like even if he's not completely developed this season, we still have plenty of time to see him grow.
that's true.
Oh, 100%. Like I said, we're not lacking the talent. We have the friggin' talent. It's the game time experience. Game experience. That's the difference between the talent you bring and the talent you show. You can't really base anything off of high school film
Yeah.
when you're playing college games. So I mean, between Caleb Wooden and the other guys we have what is it? 9, 12, 13 tackles between our safeties, and that's 4 different guys. And the other guy we have coming in, Laquan Treadwell, the JUCO signee, he had a decent career at a community college, but again, that's a lot lesser um, competition.
Yeah,
But he has film. He's played against other guys that are in college, so we
but
have
we've seen
a
we've
lot of things
seen
to fill in when it comes to the safeties.
we've seen JUCO players at other positions just not quite make the leap. Gilbert comes to mind last year, the number one
Yeah,
rated safety, coming out of community college. It's a huge step going up to Division One, let alone going into the SEC. And
oh
so
yeah,
I don't even know if we can, rely on that and say, hey, we got game footage on him. Well, okay, yeah, but is community college, that big of a step up above high school? You know.
Well, it is. There's a different competition level, but Auburn's never had any success with JUCO players.
Yeah, okay, okay, but man, okay, you got me there. You got me there. Cam Newton, Nick Marshall, those are just two players that come to mind.
Nick
So
Fairley.
I
Nick
know, and the list
Fairley.
we have a long list. We really do.
Yes.
But recently, what have you done for me recently?
It's
We
true.
don't
I know.
have that.
You make a valid point. We don't, but LaCron Treadwell, he's a big guy. He's a big safety. I think he's 6'2", 220 pounds. Like, you can't ask for much more out of a friggin' safety. Get out.
That's true. That's true. Well,
But
I
that's my
actually,
position group.
for me, man, of the players that I think really need to step up, I am the pessimist of the group, and so I am just down in the dumps, and I feel like, oh man, we need a shit ton of people to really step up.
I
I
just
mean,
want
I
to
got
say,
Keldrick.
I just want to
Go
say
for
you've
it.
been playing hopscotch with that role. One
It's so
I have.
one
Just
week,
flip-flop.
one week you're like, oh, I'm gonna be the optimist this year. The next week, so I'm the pessimist. Next week, oh, I'm the optimist. No, dude, choose a side.
Yeah. Well, so y'all guys know,
Choose
in
your
my
role.
heart
Stay in
of
your lane.
hearts, in my heart of hearts,
Pessimist.
I'm a pessimist, and but as I get older, I realize that that's a difficult life to live, and so I'm trying to be optimistic, and then there's some weeks that I look at it and questions that we pose before the podcast of saying, hey, this is going to be a topic, and I'm thinking, oh, I'm going to be sunshine pumping. We got all the talent in the world. We're going to kick some ass this year. And then I really look
Then
at it
reality
and I'm
sets
just
in.
like, oh, damn it. And so I go and look at it and I'm like, okay, okay, I'm going to add this player. Oh, okay, this player too. No, you're right. This player, this player, this player, this player, this player, this player, and it just goes on and on. And so for me, I got Keldrick Falk. I think he might be the biggest person we need to see just show out. We need to see that 5-star. We need to see that improvement from year 1 to year 2 because we need him to be a man among boys. We also need at least one of those freshman defensive linemen. One of the freshman Jack linebackers has got to step it up.
Oh,
see
you
here.
know they will. Josh Aldridge and Charles Kelly are going to just have them guys like, you need to do
I
this,
hope
and if
so.
you don't do it, you're not playing.
I mean, so all this talk about all of our defensive positions and all that stuff. How are we feeling about offense? If it's anything
I
like
got some questions
if it's
about
anything
running
like
back.
last year, then I've also got concerns. Right? It's like we've already addressed that Peyton Thorne needs to step it up. Right? But I personally I think our biggest option or our biggest issue is going to be protection for whoever's at QB1. We need to like my personal frustration is giving them time to make decisions, which seems to be
Yeah.
something that we have been lacking in the past. So like regardless of how our defense is going to look, that's my next biggest concern is how our protection on offense is going to look.
Well, I mean, I think it's a lot less protection compared to decision making from the quarterback. Peyton Thorne had a very big problem going through his progressions and actually pulling the trigger when he needed to pull the trigger. He would hesitate, and that's what would cause the pocket to collapse. He would not get the ball out when he needed to get it out. So I think that I do think protection is a concern because it has been for a very long time at Auburn.
Yeah.
But I think the
I
offensive line we have now and the guys coming in, we got a lot of continuity going on. We have guys coming back. We have that brotherhood and bond between those guys, and they're like, okay, we got to build off what we had last year. And but yeah, it is a valid concern for sure.
I think Brandon has a little bit of PTSD, just like every bit of every other Auburn fan out there when it comes to offensive line. We're going back to Jarrett Stidham that second
God.
year, and we're just like, oh my gosh, our offensive line is just garbage. And then the next year, they're bad, and then the next year they're bad, and then the next year they're bad, and it just kept on and on and on. But they weren't bringing any talent in. And then last
It's
year,
true.
we had Freeze come in, say, "Hey, I like to have 16 linemen on my roster," and he brings in some really great talent, and we have some really good offensive line play, some far better offensive line play than what we've had the last 5 years prior to. But at the same time, at the end of the season, it was just so many years of us stacking bad offensive lines after another that we instantly just flash back to those bad years. And I think Brandon's getting a little bit of that, because I think you have some validity to what you're saying about last year. There were some games where our offensive line did seem to collapse a little bit quicker, but compared to previous years and compared to the whole season together, that offensive line last year absolutely killed it in my opinion. And that the biggest problem was what, like Josh was saying, Peyton Thorne was just not pulling the trigger. And we saw it all year long, even going into the bowl game. And then all of a sudden Hank Brown comes in, and all of a sudden he's getting balls out like freaking Tom Brady in the pocket. Not like, I'm just saying he pulls that trigger real quick when he needs to, right at the right moment. And it makes your offensive line look a lot better when all they're having to do is block for two and a half, 3 seconds. Whereas Peyton Thorne, he's back there for 4, 5 seconds, it seemed like, sometimes even longer. And that's just a recipe for disaster, especially when you have receivers that aren't going to create separation downfield. But
he would have one guy he wanted to throw to, and then he would just lose that opportunity and just friggin' panic and pull a freshman Bo Nix and run outside the pocket and get tackled for a loss or throw a stupid interception.
At least Bo Nix can make plays sometimes.
You ain't kidding. Trust me, I hate that Bo Nix left. He was one of my favorite players on the team. I don't know why he got so much hate when it was the offensive line instead of being the quarterback at that moment.
And look, let's talk about the Auburn fan PTSD. I'm not alone, right?
No.
I know for a fact that you two also suffer from that shit, because I've got faith for the upcoming seasons. I think Hugh Freeze has done great so far, but I'm tired of those 1 good season, 10 bad seasons,
Yep.
It feels like it.
You are not kidding.
Yeah. No, I totally hear you. So we got a lot of players that really need to step up, and our offensive line, we're only replacing really one
guy.
position. So we should have a lot more continuity. Connor Lew is going to have another year under his belt, so he should look a lot better at the center position. And our two deep has played together quite a bit this year. So I'm feeling really good about offensive line. That's kind of where I am optimistic, and not just hey, I'm faking it. I actually feel really good about our offensive line personally. It's just our defensive line for me, and wide receivers, which I think every Auburn fan talk about PTSD. I swear, in my dreams, I see balls getting thrown to wide open receivers, and then all of a sudden they just can't drop it, or a corner comes out of nowhere and knocks it out of the sky. So, so I am. That's where I'm also. We got to have some players step up. I'm still on the Camden Brown train. I still want to see him step up and just really deliver. It's now or never, my man. Now or never. Come on.
I think we all want to see Camden Brown step it up, bro. I mean, he was so good his freshman year, and then I don't know what the heck happened. He turned into Iron Skillet Coates. It just doesn't make sense to me. It's just, he's just clanking the iron pans together. Can't catch a damn ball. I mean, I think he has all the talent in the world.
At least Sammy caught some passes, and he would take those skillet hands and stiff arm, defensive backs and put them in the ground.
Oh,
one of the Camden Brown hasn't even done that.
No. Step it up, Camden.
Come on.
I'm just kidding, bro. I want to see him do all the great things in the world, but he's just got to prove that he can do it. And we all know he can. That's the thing. He can do it.
Yeah.
I don't know what the heck, man. I think Marcus Davis is going to get those boys right this year, though.
Hopefully. Needless to say, there's a lot that we're going to have plenty of time to talk about. The spring practices and what players we hear are stepping up. None of us have any inside information. None of us are in the state of Alabama getting to go to practice. It's just all opinion. It's all what we hear. So, it's man.
We're just fans speaking to other fans.
Yep. So, moving away from football, though, this episode, let's Let's talk about.
Don't skip this, please.
Oh, okay. Let's
Skip
just.
it.
No, we can't. We can't skip it. We got to talk
Mm.
about it. We got to talk about the gator in the room, if you will. Unfortunately,
Boo.
and we just got to dredge through that swamp that they call
Oh my gosh.
Gainesville, Florida.
So stupid.
So
That was pretty good. That was a good one. Did you write that down? Were you reading the
no,
script or just like off the dome?
that was off the cuff. Nailed it.
Nailed it.
So we played Florida at Florida last week. Me and Joshua were talking about this game. I was feeling good. I was feeling good about this game. I was like, "Hey, man, we're breaking curses." And Josh, you weren't feeling good. One of us was right, one of us was wrong, and I hate you for being right.
I mean, that's 2 games in a row that I was on the head.
Yeah, yeah,
I'm not
and
proud of it.
it was bad.
There
I
was
know
one
we.
point in the first half where we brought it back within single digits, that one like split second, but then Florida's like, nah, not in my house.
Yeah.
It's just I don't even want to talk about the damn game. That's just how
Well,
bad
okay.
it was.
Okay, so then let's gloss over it. Everybody that's listening to this podcast, that's watching this podcast, knows we lost. We lost bad. We looked bad doing it. But let's just. I got a couple things that I want to point out. First off, the bad. I didn't even write down bad. Well, yeah, I did.
It's all
I wrote
bad.
down some bad because it just was all bad. But let's just
Yeah.
let's dip on that just a quick second. I'm just gonna rattle stuff off real quick. Entire first half, we're shooting 32.3%. Okay, we're 1 for 12 from three. 1 for 12, guys. Only hitting 50% of our free throws. By the way, they're called free throws because the clock stops and they're free freaking points, and we can't even
No
capitalize on that.
defenders.
None whatsoever. They sit there in a line playing patty cake with each other, and we can't even hit those shots. Okay, we had 8 turnovers that turned into 11 points for the Florida Gators. All right, we allowed Florida to own the paint on both ends of the floor in that first half. All right, Jamison Williams,
Jalen Williams.
Jalen Williams. Sorry, I knew I said it wrong right away. Jalen Williams, man, the guy has been fire for us this year. But in that game, he disappeared, and I don't know where he went. He got lost in the swamp, is what happened. The guy just completely disappeared. And then my last thing that I want to bring up, I don't know if you saw this, Josh, because it was so difficult to watch the second half. But in the second half, Bruce Pearl pulled Aiden Holloway and got him on the sideline, and they kind of got into it a little bit. Bruce Pearl was, giving them the business, telling them, hey, this is how you need to do things. And Aiden could not look more disinterested in what Bruce was telling him. And so I hope that we don't see carryover and that doesn't become a small wedge that starts to get between him and Bruce, because he really did not look, he wasn't fighting back, he wasn't jawing back or anything like that, but he just kind of shrugged it off and was kind of like, it's whatever, coach. And I hope that that's not a negative side effect of his mentality. I hope it's something that it was more of a, well, it's a bad game, it's a bad moment, it's a bad time. I'm just gonna let it just roll right off the shoulders. So I'm
He seems to
hoping
be
that
a
that's
pretty
what it was.
mature freshman, so I'm thinking that's what it was. Like it's kind of like it is what it is, like you said, mentality. So I'm hoping that's what it is, because he really is a mature freshman, and he knows I feel like he has a team first mentality, not a me first mentality. So I
Yeah.
think he's going to take what Bruce had to say to him and take all that negative and just build off of it. So I don't think I will look too much into that.
Yeah. I'm hoping that that's the case, and we see him, start to take some coaching and improve, because
Yeah.
we need the kid to improve, and he continues his slump. But although
I do have a good thing from this game, though.
go for it, because I have a couple of good things that I want to bring out. Maybe maybe you
I
have one of them.
I think this was a good type of loss to have
Mm.
before the tournament, because we're coming off a huge emotional just trouncing of Alabama, the number one offense in the SEC. And we're going in there feeling really good about ourselves, thinking, okay, this Florida team, they got mountains and valleys, and they haven't really peaked yet. And they're like, they thought they could take it easy. And then I look at this loss as a wake up call for Auburn because the SEC is just crazy talented this year. It's insane the talent the SEC has now. And so I think them losing this game in February before the tournament starts in March,
Yeah.
I see it as a good thing, and we saw the outcome of that in the next game, in my opinion.
Yeah. Well, before we move on to the next game, I got to commend the team. They didn't give up. They played a hell of a second half. Their shooting got they got considerably better. I mean, they improved. I think it was total another 10% on the shooting percentage for the entire game. So that means that in the second half they had to been they were hitting their shots. And so they never gave up. Florida just continued to push it and just wasn't going to give up that win. And so, I commend the team for not giving up. None of them looked like that they were disinterested in the game, other than that moment with Aiden Holloway and everything. Everybody looked engaged. And like you said, it became a good loss in the sense that everyone just kind of learned from it. And it's kind of like, okay, well, that was shitty. Let's move on. But another good for me was, has anybody else noticed that Chaney Johnson all of a sudden is looking like a certain player that you got to keep an eye on?
Like we friggin' needed him to.
Yeah, in that game, man, he was 1 point away from a double-double.
Wow.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Never thought I'd hear that, to be honest.
He was quietly having a really good game, and had a really good shooting percentage, had 10 rebounds, he looked like the guy that was engaged in that game, and he carried it over into the South Carolina game that we're going to go ahead and talk about, because he just continued to be a difference maker in both games, I think. And I think he's slowly starting to find his niche in this rotation and in this team. And I think he's going to be somebody that we can rely on down the line. But I talked a lot about the Florida game, Josh, because I was okay with talking about the bad. You wanted to skip it and go right into the South Carolina game.
Oh, yeah.
Let's tell the folks why you were so excited to get past that Florida game and talk about South Carolina, because both of us were nervous about this game.
Yeah, South Carolina, it's number 11 team in the country.
South Carolina has been a road warrior this year and has just demolished teams on the road. And so we were both nervous, but let's tell the people what they want to hear, Josh.
Well, I mean, you beat us by 20, we're going to beat the other team by 40. I literally mean 40 points.
Yeah.
South Carolina came into Neville as number one leaders in the SEC, along with Alabama, and as the number 11 ranked team in the NCAA. And they came out hot. They came in, they got a 9-4 lead on us, and Auburn just decided that, no, you're not going to have any fun tonight, and decided to drop 101 points on them compared to their 61. And I think the turning point was, I know for a fact Janai Broom heard these SEC network commentators say that he was not very good that game. And it was only 4 minutes in. And he's like, okay, how's 4 for 5 from 3-point sound for you? Which is what he friggin' did. A center.
Now,
a rim protector.
To their defense, he had 2 rebounds the whole game. And he had only hit one of his threes in the first half, and outside of that, he was missing shots left and right on the offensive side. He did not look good in the first half, and so their statement, you put it in a video, you put it on repeat, it's gone kind of crazy. We're over 2,500 views so far after just one day of having it up. But I actually kind of agreed with him. I actually had it written down on my game notes. Janai Broom kind of a non-factor in that first half. And he got fired up, though. I agree.
Well, that's because he had Trey Donaldson and Jay Will doing the work in the first half. Like, you don't need your superstars to do all the work when you
No.
have all this other talent surrounding you.
Yeah.
So I mean, Jalen Williams, he finished the game 8 for 11, so he wasn't missing shots. Trey Donaldson finished 5 for 8 on the game; he wasn't missing shots. Chad Baker Mazara, he made all of his shots he made that night or shot last night. I mean, on Saturday night. I mean, Wednesday night. Shoot, I'm so turned around. But but I mean, you don't need him to be that scoring machine for you every single
No.
night when everyone else is picking up that slack. And he's like, okay, now it's my turn.
Now,
And he just went friggin' off.
he's had a couple of games where the first half he has 4 or 5 points in the first half, and then in the second half he really turns it on. So he does know when to turn it on and really fill up the stat sheet. But I think for me the most shocking thing was the fact that he only had 2 rebounds. He seemed to have some butterfingers
Yeah.
on the glass last night.
Yeah, I can agree with you. I think the whole team, honestly, struggled rebounding. Not one player finished with more than 3 rebounds that game, and that was Chris Moore, and he had 0 points as well. But we got out rebounded by 2 the entire game. They had 25 rebounds, we had 23. So
But we weren't
rebounds was
missing
just
shots. That's why.
exactly, exactly. That's true.
Now here's the
But yeah,
thing.
that brings up a good point.
I heard a stat today on the War Report. I was listening to their thing. Do you know how many points their bench had?
No, I don't off the top of my head.
1 point. We outscored their bench 39-1
Holy
in this
crap! I'm
game.
looking at it now, and that is freaking insane. That 1 point.
One
That
one
was his
point.
only. He didn't have any shooting attempts or anything.
Uh-uh.
He had 1 rebound, 6 minutes, and 1 point.
Yeah.
That's freaking stupid.
Yeah. We just
Get
embarrassed
better,
the
South
number
Carolina.
11 team. Yeah.
Jeez.
Yeah. And the
Take
thing
that L and just get better.
And the thing is man, it looked like we were complained about it a couple of other times so far this year about us having a slow start and it coming back and eventually biting us in the ass. In the Florida game, it bit us in the ass having that slow start, and it continued on. But in this game, they went up 9-4, South Carolina, and then after about 8 minutes of the game, we just turned it on and did not look back. I mean, we got a 22-point lead heading into halftime, and it just felt good. It felt like one of those, just like a baptism after a bad game, man. That's what it felt like. Coming up out of that water, all clean, and just not even caring about the fact that we were just dredging through some swampy water.
Yeah. It was like walking into Galaxy's Edge for the first time. You just felt reborn. I tell you what, though, other opposing teams, you let Auburn score 50 points in the first half, we're going to score 51 on you in the second half.
Yeah, yeah. And the other thing is man, we haven't even talked about Cardwell. Cardwell had
Dude's a friggin' monster.
he was affecting people's shot when he wasn't even around them. That dude, do you remember that dude? He went to go make a layup, but in his mind, he knew for a fact that Cardwell was right behind him and he was about to swat that shit. And so he ends up overthinking it and ended up missing the rebound or the layup. I'm surprised that the commentators didn't bring that up because that was 100% the fact that Cardwell was on the floor and that player thinking, okay, he's about to get his 4th block in the half. And he just completely missed that shot.
He affects everything on the court. I think though my favorite Cardwell moment in the game was when he got his alley oop. It was a steal. It was 3-on-1. It was in KD Johnson's mind. It was KD and Trey Donaldson, not Cardwell, KD, and Trey. So Trey threw it up for the oop. Cardwell slammed it, and KD's just saying, like, where the hell did he come from? He's looking around trying to figure out where he come from. And it's just the greatest thing in the world. This is the guy brings so much energy to the court. It just when he gets going and when he gets excited and he gets pumped, it's a whole nother game because he brings that much to the team.
He definitely does, and he knows how to get that freaking high school gym going, man. He knows how to
get our
him
high school
going.
gym paid off.
Yes, it did.
That's for damn sure.
Now, I will say, for me, the most impressive play of the game, I got to give it to my man Janai Broom with the shimmy.
And they haven't had any answers on the defensive end. My goodness.
That was,
And
I was
then
like,
the
that
three?
shimmy looks so sus, though. He didn't know what he wanted to do until he knew what he wanted to do.
It's true. But hey, when you make the shot, it don't matter.
It's
it
true.
don't matter.
He made it right in front of that man's face.
Cou-
He said,
cou-
not today.
Couple games ago, he touched the hand of God. And in this game, that hand was just out in front, man, as he was draining
Shout out to
those
Morgan Freeman.
threes. So, after all of that, though, there was something that we haven't seen all year long, and that was Denver Jones running the point. I've talked about it all season long. I've mentioned it quite a few times, and I told you in text even. We got to see Denver Jones attack the basket. We got to see Denver Jones be a playmaker for this offense. It needs it. It was just begging for Denver Jones. And you know what? I'm gonna just make a claim right here. I know earlier in the podcast we told the listeners that we don't have any contacts within the team or anything like that. But I told Bruce. I told him. I said, you know what? You gotta let Denver run the show a little bit. You gotta let him do his thing. That guy, he led his conference last year in points. The guy knows what he's doing, and with him being a taller guard, I think he's just perfect for those moments where we're just kind of, a little lackluster, things are getting a little crazy, and just letting them go. Because Donaldson does a great job of attacking the basket, popping up a little bit, and hitting that mid-range jumper. He does a great job with that. But Denver Jones is just he's such an athlete. Let's be honest here. He's such an athlete that I was really happy to see him run the show. I didn't need him to be the point guard, but I do like to see him with the ball in his hand a little bit more. And I'm hoping it's not just a one game thing. I'm hoping this is something that Bruce continues to use. I'm sure some of it has to do with the fact that Aiden Holloway is having such a slump in conference play. And again, hopefully Aiden takes it as a teachable moment and a moment that he can grow from and just focus on his game instead of worrying about the fact that he had some of his point guard time get away from him with Denver. But Josh, what did you notice that? Was that something that kind of came to your mind though whenever you were watching it?
I did notice that he was playing point guard this game. I don't know if it had as big of an impact on the game as you're claiming or saying. His defense is just top notch. It's the best point guard defense we've seen since Zep Jasper. But he only had 7 points and 1 assist as splitting time shooting guard and point guard. But his defense was, on point. It was elite. I mean, he had a couple of good plays and kickouts when he was driving and found an open guy, and then that guy just ended up passing to someone else. But he did really good as a point guard, but I don't know if it was just as astronomically amazing as you're making it out to be. Not trying to take anything away from
Well, I don't think
Denver.
it was astronomical. I'm just saying that I thought it was important for this team to take that next step and to be a great offensive team. We needed a playmaker like Denver Jones, who, as far as we can tell, is the only proven playmaker on that offensive side that can create his own shot outside of Broome. Okay, Jalen Williams on the road specifically has just been disappearing all year long. We needed someone like Denver Jones to step it up and to make his own offense, and he really showed what he can do. And I was happy with it personally. I thought
I agree. It gives us another option.
I thought it was signs of things
That's
to come.
important.
Yeah.
Okay, I can see where you're coming from.
So, anything else from the South Carolina game we want to talk about?
They don't deserve to be number 11. That's for damn sure.
No.
No. They're frauds. You're frauds. All of you. Every single player on that team, especially the dude with the lisp.
Well,
you're a friggin' fraud.
Well, they are the Gamecocks, and
did you?
I told you that I was going to tell you the joke that I heard Ike Jones say on the War Report this morning. It's safe to say that the Auburn Tigers, they beat the Cox on Valentine's Day.
Oh my gosh.
Man, I died. I died when I heard that joke. I thought it was the greatest thing
Did
ever.
you guys during the game? Did you see after Michi and Chad Baker Mazara got in a little scuffle after Chad had the ball stolen from him and Chad fouled him, and then Michi just got flagged for the technical foul. They Chad Baker Mazara was taken off the court after the free throws, and because I think it was a good move by Bruce, you want to take that tension off the court. But
Yeah.
they panned the camera over to Chad Baker Mazara after this big old scuffle. He's eating gummy bears or fruit snacks out of a Ziploc bag on the bench,
saw
saying
that.
like, "I don't give a shit. This
Yeah.
is life, dog."
Yeah, he's our
It's just a
bulldog,
great
man.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
he's-
I'm obsessed with Chad Baker Mazara, dude. Obsessed.
Yeah, yeah. I absolutely love him as well. So, but we'll hit on a couple of just fun stats about this game. Largest margin of victory against the AP top 25 in Auburn history. Okay, it is also brings our total this year to 13-0 at home. Okay, our high school gym
Invincible.
has been quoted as people that know basketball and have been around the game of college basketball a very long time. They have all said that this gym and that this home court advantage is up there with your greats. It is up there with your Cameron Indoor for North
Like
Carolina.
I said last week or the week
It's-
before that, Neville is to Auburn what Cameron is to the Dukes or
Yep.
Duke Blue Devils. I mean, it's insane. This win was also Auburn's largest margin of victory against an SEC team inside of Neville, and it's our
Yep.
largest home win against SEC team since 1999. We beat Bama by 54.
Just crazy. Just crazy.
It's a
This
huge
team-
game.
And,
Multiple
and you know
levels.
what? And you know what? Congratulations to the walk-ons because they went out there and made South Carolina look foolish as well. I think the walk-ons could have split some time and gotten more minutes, and we could have won by by 40. So I was just glad
Oh,
to see.
absolutely.
I was glad to see the walk-ons get out there and really produce, and just all around, man, it was just such a great game to bounce back from. You got to wonder, there's those games where coaches just say, all right, we're gonna watch the film. We're gonna, quickly go over things and I'm talking about the Florida game, and they said, and then we're just gonna put it out of our minds. We're not even going to talk about it again. We're not going to bring it up again. It's just going to be there. We're going to have lived with it, and then that's going to be it. And they really played a lot of carefree basketball last night, and it was just so fun and so great to watch. And
They were just having fun.
Yep, as an Auburn fan, it was you couldn't ask for more. Couldn't ask for more.
I think we need to give a shout out to Jared Harper's little brother, Jalen Harper.
Okay,
for
I
getting
was
us over
wondering.
100 points.
Dude looked
Yeah.
good, man.
He's a senior though.
Okay, well, still, he looked
Yeah.
great. I thought I was happy to see it. I thought it looked like a pretty shot. But yeah, no, I thought it was great. Speaking of Harper, this team, I've said it before, is just as fun, if not more fun, to watch than that 2019 team. It's not the most talented team. The 2022 team, where we had Walker Kessler and we also had Jabari Smith as our two leading men, that team was more talented all around and top heavy. But this one, man, is just so fun to watch, and it just makes my heart just grow and be more excited for Auburn basketball.
Yeah, it's just going to be fun in the future, that's for sure.
Yep. So, well, before our next podcast, we got a couple other games that are going to be, or we got one more game, sorry, that is going to be coming up. That's coming up on Saturday, the 17th. We got Kentucky coming into town. Now, this is a
Got game day coming into town.
Yep. This is a very beatable Kentucky team, though. And they're coming into, the hardest high school gym to play in the country. And thoughts on this game, gentlemen?
Yeah, I got a thought on it. They just lost by 17 to South Carolina earlier this year. So, I mean, I'm not too worried about it. They're a really good team historically. This year, they're a little down on their luck. Again, I do expect another double-digit win since every single one of our wins have come by double digits, but
Are you
I am a
calling?
little nervous because it is Kentucky.
Are you calling a 57-point win for Auburn then? If South Carolina is 17 points better than Kentucky and we're 40 points better than South Carolina, is that a 57-point win? Are we going to back
I mean,
smash some records
it
here?
very well could be because they lost to South Carolina on the road. So I
Yeah.
mean, if they lost to South Carolina on the road, they're going to lose to Auburn on the road. That's just what the stats are going to tell you.
Yeah.
But again, it's Kentucky. You can't count Kentucky out. There's certain teams in the league you can never count out. Tennessee, Alabama, and Kentucky are consistently in that conversation along with Auburn. Like, you just can't count those teams out. They're going to give you your best shot, especially when you're playing in Neville, the most hostile environment in college basketball right now, and Kentucky wanting to prove something, saying, "Hey, we're still a blue blood. Don't forget about us."
Yeah.
So I think this game, Kentucky's going to have something they want to prove, but in the same breath, Auburn has a lot more they want to prove, and they're not. I don't think they're going to let Kentucky have their way in any aspect in this game. I just don't. I would be surprised if it was less than a 14-point game.
Yeah. And the crazy thing is we just had a 40-point game, a 40-point win. And we may not have another 40-point win the rest of the season. We likely won't. But it still doesn't feel like this team has peaked yet. I still feel like we got something left in this team. We still got Aiden Holloway that's going to show out. We talked about it. I said Chaney Johnson is coming into his own. We still got his growth and his production to go up. So I don't think we've seen the peak for this team. And again, it just is super exciting. You called it earlier in the season. You think they're going to be better than the 2019 team. We still got a long way to go before I can agree with you there. But man, the potential is
It
there.
sure shit looking that way.
And it looks really good. So, well, until next time, until we get to talk about that next game, it is going to be the only game we get to talk about in the next podcast because we're going to be having an entire week off. But until then, War Eagle guys, and don't forget to subscribe and ring the bell to be notified of future videos, especially the shorts that Josh keeps posting. So, War Eagle, gentlemen.
War Eagle.